Thank you so much, and now it's time to get into Champion Select for Game 1 of the quarterfinals between JD Gaming, the young, up-and-coming, the high-swinging, the hard-punching heavy hitters, trying to bring down the Dynasty, the winningest team in LPL history.
And Dom, I'm not going to mince words. I'm a little bit nervous as we go pretty fast through this Champion Select that you're casting the Edward Gaming Best of 5, because I know you and EDG go a ways back, and every time there's a significant game, you cast the upset.
Many years worth of upsets for EDG. Harken back to the 2015 Unlimited Potential 0-2 game. But hey, that was years ago. This is a new team with some new players, though there are still a few old guards here with Clearlove and Mako returning. But EDG doing that good old-fashioned EDG thing with a very early focus on the bottom lane. Kai'Sa, Braum, as is expected. Interestingly enough, though, we are seeing a Tahm Kench first out of JD.
And Tahm Kench really found his revival yesterday in the LPL and our Best of 5 series, being picked majority of those games, and it makes sense against the likes of Edward Gaming's bot lane. You're going up against the raw aggression of iBoy and Mako. And so Tahm Kench, he's usually slotting into that support position still. You know, we're not seeing anything funny about him entering up into the top lane on 8.16 in the LPL. But it's about securing that safety net, which is why I also love him in tandem with Varus. Not only is this an old school pick and power pocket pick for Loken, but it also means that JD Gaming recognize, hey, it's probably going to be all about the dive. It's going to be all about the pressure that EDG are going to exhibit bottom, and we've brought the pocket ace.
And the biggest facilitator for that bottom lane pressure is going to be through Clearlove. How he sets up vision, how he enables Scout to rotate later on, and take a look at that ban, and now the subsequent quick pick. Rek'Sai banned away from Clearlove, which has been out of meta for almost the entire split, and then an immediate aggressive champion out of him after.
Sometimes you just need to respect the original king, and Clearlove was the king of the jungle in the LPL. Now that said, he does have a very limited champion pool. You can see that with the Rek'Sai ban being taken away, and the fact that he reaches for Olaf. Now, Olaf has started to come back up in the recent patches in the LPL. I'm not a huge fan of the pick, still has that dueling potential, has a lot of backline access, especially against someone like a Varus, even though the Tahm Kench is there. So I kind of understand the logic, but for me, Clearlove does not, he's not an Olaf player. I don't think of Clearlove being like, ah yes, the Olaf pick, a classic. To me, it's almost as bad as his Elise. So I'm very curious how he's turned it around and what his performance will be on this champion.
And it's so interesting looking at these bans. As you can see, Clearlove has been resorting to a lot of Xin Zhao on your screen, but double mid lane ban, triple if you include that Akali for Scout. A lot of how those plays have been set up have been getting Clearlove to unlock Scout and allow him to roam towards the bottom lane, as Mako, of course, the gold medalist from the Asian Games 2018 esports demonstration event, very popular with the fans. But EDG, they're well aware of this style, and it seems as though JD are trying to shut it down with plenty of mid lane bans to keep Scout busy mid, even a Rise to keep him locked down, and banning away JD's more mobile jungle.
I mean, that's 4 bans leveraged at Scout in the mid lane. Akali, Aurelia, Vel'Koz, as well as the Syndra. And maybe they're trying to pigeonhole him into the weakened Zoe on 8.16. That said, it's still against a Rise. Rise in the LPL is usually the take into Zoe alongside the likes of Yasuo and LeBlanc, because you have the lockdown to pop her like a balloon, and this would be out of left field.
Oh yeah, Sion could very well make a return here, as we get to see the unstoppable Dreadnought locked in. So far it's been played once in the LPL with a victory.
So one of the things about Sion is just how oppressive his laning potential can be. Now that said, there's still definitely flex potential between Rise and Sion, mixing it up depending on what this last mid lane pick will be. But I feel like this is going to be Sion facing across from the Urgot. So Zoom, he had something in the back pocket. He thinks it's going to be the Sion pick that can get him through the lane phase across from a very oppressive Urgot in the LPL.
And look at that, the return to Graves from Clid. This was a huge signature champion for him back when it was still in the meta before the transition out, and it absolutely shows that JD, they've got a very clear composition. They've got a front to back, they've got the Sion to run it down, of course that Rise Realm Warp, the Tahm Kench Abyssal Voyage to maneuver around. JD embracing their set plays and strong laning phase rotations, whereas EDG, they're just going something standard and meta. Strong bottom lane, strong mid lane, and Urgot, you're gotta be kidding me, top lane.
It's very stock standard from both these teams, both in the champions that they've selected as well as the play styles that these compositions can execute on. So quickly touching on JD's composition, this is what you need to expect expect from this team. They are a very well-rounded team that understand that they need to have power points at every point in the game. They've got the early game pick of the fact that they have someone like a Graves. They have the mid-game power point in the Varus. They've got the late-game scaling potential from the Rise. There's never a point in the game that JD Gaming don't have some sort of weapon that they can utilize as a win condition. On the other side, Edward Gaming, it's stock standard comfort. You got Scout on his signature Zoe, you got the Kaisa for Eyeboy, you have the Braum for Mako, and you have Ray's pocket pick of the Urgot coming out and really dominating LPL playoffs so far.
And this game is so important for setting up the momentum of this entire series. As we heard from the analyst desk, this is the worst split EDG have ever had. And even despite that, they're still getting second in their group and coming into quarterfinals now against JD Gaming. The question is, will they actually be able to step up into playoffs, or are we starting to see the beginning of a new era led by the charge of JD Gaming?
And of course, the context is that Edward Gaming managed to take second in the weakest conference of the two. The Western Conference has been falling behind East at every single opportunity. JD Gaming, they get to sit at the big boys table. You know, win or lose here, they're at least going to the regional qualifiers, and they at least have a shot to attend the World Championship in their second season of the LPL.
And of course, the way that happens is either through taking first in the LPL Summer Playoffs and getting the automatic World Seed, as that is the only way that they can seed in. There's no way JD Gaming can get in on points, even if they get second place. So this is the big upset. Do they start that run here, or will it begin when regional qualifiers takes place in just over a week?
And if you're doing the math at home and you want Invictus Gaming to go to Worlds, you are a massive JDG fan, because if JDG eliminate Edward Gaming here and Invictus Gaming manage to climb into finals, they are auto-qualified for Worlds. So EDG, they kind of feel like the villains. It feels like people are done with them. They don't want to see them at Worlds anymore. They want the next chapter. They want the new kids, and that can start right here with JD.
Well, as we load onto the Rift, it's just about time for us to hear from the audience for this hotly anticipated matchup between Edward Gaming, the old guard, against the new kids, JD Gaming.
Okay, calm down, calm down. A huge thank you again to our Beijing Stadium RNG hosting the quarterfinals of the LPL. We'll be in Beijing all the way up until the finals, which of course will take place in Nanjing. Got to go there previously for an LPL finals. Gorgeous city, cannot wait to go back. But first, we have some business to attend to, as it looks like an invade.
Zoom chasing it down, the smite from Clearlove. He ticks over to level 2, but look at the AoE damage. Clearlove's already getting low. And remember, Clid is on that Graves, though he's low health. He does quite a lot if he can sustain it, but Scout on the roam. Yagao chasing. Clid's the target. First blood to Clearlove, who flashes. Zoom follows up with one of his own, and Yagao chasing down Scout. He flashes over the wall, and it ends up being a 1-for-1, but first blood to EDG.
And very scattered, and the big issue is the fact that Clearlove is going to get a springboard through his jungle because it was Clid that fell down. That's that reset timer where now you see him walk across his map back to his own red buff, whereas Clearlove's like, it's fine, I'm Olaf, I'm low health, it's only going to help me move faster through the jungle, I'm not quite going to be punished. As I say that, he's like, no, 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 I burned a lot of pots there, I got to go back for us. He's going to go back and walk to his blue buff.
Getting those very early Predator boots, too, so he might not have Flash, but Clearlove, like you said, going for a very quick clear. And already JD with a very strong set play up top, trying to upset the momentum of EDG throughout this early game.
And if you've never seen JD Gaming, if you're just now peeking into the LPL to see what the hot shit is all about, these guys are our dark horse, and they're a very play-set team. They have a playbook, they like to stick to it. And so a level 1 like this is a very stock set standard expectation from them, and this is what we're going to see more throughout the series. Not necessarily always level 1 plays, as it was an earlier rotation by Scout that ultimately made the difference, as well as some target positioning juggling that worked out in EDG's favor. But this idea that JD Gaming will always have a plan from champion select and do brilliantly to execute that through at least till 20 minutes.
And that's where things really come into question, because we know Edward Gaming is the exact same style of team. This is a team that loves their mid-game tempo, their mid-game control. But the big question for EDG, why they've had such a tumultuous split, has been that 20 to 30 minute mark. Transitions and set plays around the Baron have raised a lot of questions as to whether or not Edward Gaming can still compete with this tempo style play. And stylistically, it creates a great matchup against JD.
Exactly. We used to call JD Gaming baby Edward Gaming because they shared so many similarities in terms of how they like to approach the games in these set playbooks and also where their weaknesses are. Both these teams have struggled around consistent, effective Baron calls. So the 20 to 30 minute window is where I really want to put the magnifying glass on both JD and Edward Gaming. What is new that you've brought to the table for playoffs? Have you been able to shore up your mid game?
Well, obvious attention is turning towards that Urgot and Sion in the top lane, but we've still got to get 16 minutes towards that Baron spawn, towards that period of time. Here you can see a lot of the early rates for Edward Gaming. Their first turret percentage is still exceptionally high because of how they play focus towards the bottom lane, but JD is a team that might actually be happy to contest that.
And it's this idea of what you were just talking about, Dom, about how Edward Gaming are a mid-game focused team. And the reason why we say mid-game focus is because they prioritize winning matchups in lanes, particularly through bottom. They like to push first bloods, they like to push first towers, and then they use that global gold of getting these objectives to power spike into mid-game and just bowl through teams. As quickly, gank top.
Ooh, that's a disdain, tossing Zoom back. He's trying to run out of this one. Flash gets him to safety as Clearlove tosses the undertow, and a teleport is being utilized from Yagao. He's level 5.
He completes it.
Yeah, decides to head all the way into lane.
Just curious what Clearlove was going to do. My favorite part is when he just missed the Mushu axe. He's like, he was right in front of you. How did you miss that?
The sun was in his eyes. That must have been it.
But what's interesting here is that this is a new aspect of Edward Gaming. We usually talk about how they're all about their bottom lane, all about iBoy, all about Mako, especially when Clearlove is on the roster. His synergy and his whatever it is, that special something, the intangibles that he brings out in Mako have made Edward Gaming such a dominant force over the course of the LPL. But because they've now started giving more respect to Ray, allowing him picks like the signature Urgot, you're starting to see them give more attention to Ray. And Urgot can be so dominant in all of these matchups. It just feels like LPL can't figure out how to beat him in the lane phase.
And it's so interesting that we're in playoffs, a time where EDG historically play up, and this is a team, like we just said, they always play towards that bottom lane style. It took coming to playoffs for us to see this style change, this approach towards something new for EDG. We'll have to see if it's successful, because right now it's even CS between the two, though Zoom does have that kill advantage, which should give him a little bit of extra gold. But if you take a look at the bottom lane, that's actually a small CS advantage for Loken, and he was able to deny iBoy a little bit of experience by crashing a good wave in.
I mean, the benefit is that it's Varus into Kai'Sa, so you have a lot of the lane control, and then Braum into Tahm Kench. It's hard for Braum to look for the all-in engagements there unless you're doing it on the Kench himself, and even then, you're still competing with Grey Health. So, again, JDG, they always have a plan. They clearly had a plan that they were facing Edward Gaming. They prioritized the Tahm Kench, even when other teams had moved away from the pick, because they feel like it's going to be the safety belt that they need to survive this ride.
It's so interesting to see how this plan is going to work out and whether or not that changes how they play around that 20 to 30 minute mark, because even when they do play towards the bottom lane, it's a bit risky, but there we go. That's a slow landing onto Ray. Realmorph gets Yagao in there. There's no flash available for Ray. It's coming off a cooldown, but the Rune Prison, he's trying to get out of this as Zoom is dodging the Fear Beyond Death as best he can, surviving for as long as possible, and Yagao finds the kill. But here's good, and a teleport from Mako. Klid is up there, rushing up, using the Dark Harvest. The target is Mako right away. He gets bursted down, and Klid finds a kill. They're even chasing it down onto Clearlove. Another slow lands. He flashes late, but JD find 2 kills up top.
And a massive response from JD Gaming. Expertly played to make sure that they're prioritizing that top side of the map. We said, we know that the Urgot's going to come up. They talked about it on the analyst desk. You know that Zoom and Ray play it. Ray was the first guy to bring it out, and JDG had the pocket pick. They had the plan from minute 1, and you finally got to see it executed.
And we're even seeing the follow-up from JD down in that bottom lane. Loken and Lumao on the exact same page. So many times we see Lumao split off and leave Loken on his own, but here it is, just that clean execution from JD to dive onto Ray.
And it's just expertly done, like you were saying. The fact that Zoom was trying to be very conscientious, not letting himself fall below a certain threshold, trying to sidestep and dodge around here, and they just locked Ray down. Now here's where Edward Gaming goes so sideways. They feel that Mako has the spellbook, that they can pull the teleport, and they can find the cleanup kills, but Klid immediately responds. Walked from Grom stomp all the way to the top side, and then you have another teleport on top of it, and JDG said, no, not today. We planned for this, we executed on it, and we cleaned it up.
And that was the follow-up from Lumao actually trying to channel his teleport and join into the fight. And I just want to point, Yagao actually stepped up and took the Fear Beyond Death. Zoom, I don't know if he saw the hitbox or not, but was still standing behind the Rise just in case the projectile would hit him or not. But still, JD Gaming, that set play is starting to pay off for them. Now they've got vision on the blue buff to try and deny scout control over this mid lane as Yagao, he's even in CS, finds himself 1-0-1, and Klid is working on this blue.
Now, we do need to cover the contest, but I do want to quickly touch top lane as soon as this skirmish is over. Hold on.
Mako and Lumao trying to fight down there. Chains of Corruption. The target's Mako. Remember, he has no
Goes
flash. That's the killer instinct from iBoy to try and get a save, but there's no follow-up. Scout gets in. Sleepy Trouble Bubble misses. A late teleport from Ray. That's a Fear Beyond Death onto Yagao, but he's a Rise. Just walks it off. And JD are outplaying EDG.
And they had the teleport advantage. You check out Zoom, his TP's just about to come off of cooldown, so there's also going to be now a massive window where JDG have the tempo advantage, have the numbers advantage cross-map, and could try to make another play. JD Gaming, they went toe-to-toe with EDG, and EDG are going through the meat grinder right now.
Yeah. Now, it should be noted, Scout did get his blue buff at the end, but look at the cost. Mako is dead. Zoom is pushing top and denying minions to Ray. iBoy is continuing to be zoned away by Loken.
And now we go back to my question about the top lane. When we first saw the Urgot pick come out against FPX, Dom, you and I casted that game, I said, I don't like it. You know, Urgot's always had these problems where it's hard to team fight on him, you don't get the same effectiveness of the tankiness, and as teams continue to move towards more bruisers or carries, the Kennons, the Gnar, I don't see the same, you know, deleting action of Urgot being as effective in terms of a tank buster, if that's kind of the title we want to give him. And now that Urgot has fallen behind, is he no longer going to be effective in that side lane? Can they still effectively team fight with this champion? Because now, Edward Gaming have these massive holes as we move into mid-game and as we move into late game, where I'm unsure how they fix the win condition about playing around an Urgot versus such a versatile pick like a Scion.
You've got to wonder whether or not EDG fall back to the old classic strategy of, well, iBoy's on a hyper carry. We can sit back and let him hyperscale, but look at the trade-offs. Already you can see JD, that signature 10-minute rotation top lane. They've taken the Infernal Dragon, not even worrying about the turrets this early on as Zoom is pushing up bottom and Loken is set to finish off first brick up top.
And it's recognizing that they've got the Infernal. They basically have everything they want on the bottom side of the map, and Zoom, like you said, has done so much work for the top tower. So JDG, if you give them time, if you let them play their game, if you don't force them to be reactionary, this is what they do. They snowball over you. And these are the same things that we used to credit to Edward Gaming. And now it feels like our two playbook teams are meeting each other for a big stage, and JDG frankly just look like the better one right now.
Yeah, it almost feels like if you turn off the nameplates and we're told that JD and JD and EDG were in this game, you would assume EDG would be blue side if it were 2017, but not so much anymore. As Kulov looks like he's trying to head up top, but look at that, 4 members already up here, and Zoom is pulling back with his teleport ready. JD know exactly what's up, and they could be trying to bait EDG forward. The question is, does EDG take the bait, or do they actually sit back and try to slow this game down?
I think it's more so an observation that they understand what JDG are playing around. They know that it's about Rift Herald, they know that it's about top tower, and JDG are just trying to hold Edward Gaming in their current formation and take what they can for free. And Edward Gaming are flipping this coin. Are we strong enough to fight them? Can we steal this from them? Can we approach them? And it looks like they're going to go for the pincer. Teleport
certainly
advantage
on
Zoom.
Zoom, he's racing up away. You can see Ray is chasing him at full speed. That's even the Urgot ultimate to run him down. Realm Warp from Yagao to even further zone them away as Zoom shows up just for moral support.
And this is the perfect example about what we're talking about. Edward Gaming, the reason why they've had the worst split of their LPL career is because of mistakes like that. You're not keeping track of your teleports. They became aware of it and said, okay, we hear Scion, he's trying to teleport, or he's just going to ult up. We must disengage because we don't have the ability to get Urgot up here, but it's that indecision. Can we fight this? Can we force them off of it? And instead of grabbing free farm or trying to set themselves up into a better position to trade for the Rift Herald, they just straight up lose it.
And they've still got that Rift Herald in their pockets. Klid walking all the way up to the turret, going to go for an N-powered recall inside of Vision, so EDG know there's no threat for a tier 2 push, but the recall is almost perfectly synced with the turret going down. Loken gets all of that first brick gold, still 20 CS, while Zoom is keeping Ray busy down bottom, and that's already been worked to death by Zoom. Just a few more waves until it goes down. Meaning JD, they've got to keep their eyes on the next target, keep their eyes on the prize, because if they let EDG get back into this, it could still go down to that individual mechanics outplay team fight.
And you have to think that that's what Edward Gaming are going to start to rely on. Part of the reason why they've fallen so far down in the LPL is because for the longest time, EDG just had the best players in every single position. But that time has come and gone. I agree with the analyst desk. I feel like this is stronger bot lane versus stronger top lane between these two teams, pound for pound, talent-wise. But Yagao is not just outclassed by Scout. You know, no longer Edward Gaming just have these superstars on this roster that allow them to do whatever they want because they're better players. And JD Gaming, as kind of the unknown names, as the dark horse of the LPL, prove that so much talent is being injected into this league that Edward Gaming need to change up their strategies if they want to continue to be successful in the league.
Now we've got a Rift Herald being summoned into the mid lane by JD. They've brought Loken and Loom out. 2 big items completed along with the Iceborne Gauntlet for Zoom. Herald is going to charge in, and even though Zoom, actually no, that's Yagao teleporting in, Zoom walked it up, Chains of Corruption, onto Mako. He soaks the wall. Piercing Arrow onto Scout, who's sitting on Heal and Cleanse. They're playing it real risky close to the turret as Yagao walks it up, but Loken takes a turret shot. And still JD, they're trying to keep EDG busy here. Sleepy Trouble Bubble, I cannot believe that did not hit Clid, but they're still pushing this next wave and trying to take this turret, and Scout is looking for an opening on the side.
How desperate are they going to be? Are they going to wait for Scout CC to hit, or are they going to wait for Mako to pull the trigger? Because mid tower is about to fall.
There's the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, a lot of zone control setup. They stack on the other side of the wave and start making their way around. Zoom gets a slow on the Mako. He's real low. The Piercing Arrow chucks him down to 100 health. And EDG, they are dancing a fine line, but they're still able to hold the turret. Will they be able to hold it for one more wave?
And it's about how patient will JD be. Are they going to wait for that single wave? Or are they going to say, no, it's fine. There's free farm across the map. It looks like they're going to take their backs, find their resets. Cloud Dragon, not the most important, but we have been quite timely with our Dragon Timer so far. Spawns in 1 minute, and there's also the bot lane tower, which is also just as weak. So plenty of options for JD Gaming to attack the map and continue to try to rip Edward Gaming around until they find the engage that they like.
This maneuverability from JD Gaming, these set plays, was what once made Edward Gaming famous. You can see fans are still voting for EDG. Both iBoy and Klilov at the Master and Challenger in those fan votes, where the best JD have is Yagao at quote-unquote diamond in these fan votes.
And quickly, just explaining what's happening is that the Chinese fans through the Chinese streaming platforms can give these teams votes, and it helps promote them. The team's ELO or collective ELO can be seen at the top of your screen, and it is an average of each player's individual ELO. So what you should notice is that if someone does a kick-ass play, they're going to get a bunch of votes.
Get promotions,
they're going to get promotions, and everything's going to level up. And speaking of leveling up, 2 towers.
That's mid-tier 1 and the bottom tier 1.
Your
but
votes
here's
in.
the trade-off. Clearlove and Mako are invading the blue buff to set up vision around the Baron, but it's 16 minutes into the game. There is no Baron for them to take. They have effectively set up a lot of vision so iBoy can split push up top and get EDG onto the map by taking their first turret, but it's a 3,000 gold advantage for JD. They've got first items on just about everyone, and that's a teleport coming in from Zoom. Even the Abyssal Voyage to bring Loken. Zoom is going to try to pincer them against the wall. EDG, though, they see this coming. Nobody's protecting iBoy, and he's already dead. Clearlove is turning and running to leave his longtime support to fall as JD, they react and collapse, punishing Edward Gaming.
Literally ripped Edward Gaming apart. Wasn't even close. JD Gaming are smashing them right now. We're only 16 minutes in the game, coming on 17 minutes. It's almost a 3K gold lead, and JDG, at every single engagement that Edward Gaming have tried to force, have turned it on its head.
And this is wholly unpredicted. At best, we expected JD Gaming would go even with Edward Gaming to keep the keep pace with them with these set plays, waiting towards that 20-30 minute mark. But JD come out swinging from level 1 and do not let up off the gas.
And it's because they are constantly making plays with every spell and advantage that they have. You know, it's Zoom using a very aggressive teleport. It's not a reactionary teleport. It's a trap that's sprung with the Abyssal Voyage. There's never a window in which JD Gaming have an opportunity to set up play, taking an objective, finding a pick, punishing a team fight that they're not grabbing.
So now we've got to turn our attention towards what's next, because JD, 7 kills in 17 minutes total in this game, 6 of them going to JD. They've been constantly pushing the tempo, pushing the pace against Edward Gaming. Now it looks like the rotation is down towards bottom, and Abyssal Voyage is almost back up off of cooldown. Yagao and Clid already setting up the wave.
There's a moment for breathing right now for Edward Gaming because the Baron hasn't spawned, because there's no big priority dragon to fight over. All they need to do is kind of sit behind their towers, wait for these waves to be shoved in, and try to minimize the damage. But this is the catch-up potential. And EDG, What's their win condition going to be? You said it earlier. I'm going to echo it again. It's probably going to be iBoy and the Kai'Sa. They're sitting in their comms. They're saying, you know, it's fine. Kai'Sa's got our first item. We just need to get her to item number 2, start unlocking some of that power through her abilities, and then we're just going to play front to back, and we're going to run iBoy down into them. They've got great backline dive between the likes of the Olaf as well as the Kai'Sa. You can get some snipes with Scout, so they're looking for outplay in terms of these team fights. JDG, they're just going to get stronger at this point. They've got their mid-game power spike, they have late-game scaling potential, they have a great standard 5v5 composition, so the onus is on them to continue to pressure Edward Gaming around the map.
EDG bringing 4 people to take a red buff at 18 minutes in. That's how concerned they are to be giving ground. The wave is pushed in and iBoy is able to catch it. But looking at that Stormrazor's build, if he decides to go for Crit Kai'Sa, it's going to take a long time for him to come fully online. Needs an attack speed item and that Infinity Edge if he really wants to compete. Whereas Loken, he's already got his Blade of the Ruined King well on his way to the Gwinsus. He does damage throughout all points of the game.
Which is why this Baron is so important, because JD Gaming need this to snowball the game, to put the pedal to the metal and continue to drive over Edward Gaming. They don't want to let EDG create a hiatus and start gathering all of that farm onto the Kai'Sa to hit those big breaking points.
And this is where JD have struggled around that mid-game, specifically around those Baron plays. They've shown us that their first 20 minutes are pretty immaculate. Well, what do they have to show us next? That's the Realm Warp behind the turret.
Oh my God,
Scout shows up and actually takes it. There's a paddle star, and nobody's here to defend this. Scout, he was supposed to catch the wave, but the only thing that he catches is dust as the turret explodes in his face.
I mean, credit to Yagao. I don't know if he was going to be bold enough to take that one. I thought it's a great play just to use the ultimate as a zoning ultimate, but maybe he read the situation, how Scout postured in the lane, moved immediately away from him.
Think of the message that sends. In game 1, I will take a Realm Warp underneath a turret, underneath nearly 2 turrets, just to zone it away. No turret is safe for Scout, knowing that.
And it looked too easy, and Edward Gaming, frankly, have 0 response. Their primary factor is just trying to create safety nets for Kai'Sa, and you can see Mako scouting for that again, trying to constantly move into River. And again, it goes back to the beauty of the Scion and the Tahm Kenshul. It's been a while since we've seen this combo used effectively. Scion's really disappeared from the LPL, but if Kai'Sa ever oversteps, Abyssal Voyage, Scion Ultimate, even a teleport, she's immediately going to get collapsed on.
And we've already seen that happen once this game, so EDG have to be extra careful now that they know that it has already happened. But 20 minutes in, Baron has spawned. That's the pickaxe and an amplifying tome for iBoy, but still no Gwinsus, whereas on the opposite side, Loken has his. We're seeing item 2 on the way from Yagao. Adaptive Helm from Zoom to further deny that Kai'Sa damage. It's very clear what JD want to do, but now it's up to Edward Gaming to constantly maneuver around this vision and keep this Baron safe.
Yeah, keeping the Baron safe. Edward Gaming, they're looking for picks. They're looking for very quick hit-and-run type of skirmishes. They can't afford a big 5v5 right now due to the item breakpoints. They're not strong enough just yet. So they need to keep these lanes isolated and, again, slow down the bleeding, and it might start here.
That was actually the Ghost Ray. Landed the Fear Beyond Death a moment ago, but Yagao is keeping his shield up to try and deny any execution. Again, that unsealed spellbook just providing more mobility as Ray is willing to step up and try to fight over this minion wave because he has to show that he's willing to fight. If he shows any weakness, JD have shown that they can easily pounce on it.
But only to a certain extent. You know, Ray's not going to stray too far from his tower as Clearlove might be caught.
Simply hoofing it back towards his tier 2. Lumao and Zoom decide not to take any ultimates over the wall as JD look at the vision that they've set up around the Baron. It is completely dark from Edward Gaming.
They're starving EDG out of their own map. And now, that magnifying glass that we were talking about, it's now time. It's 22 minutes in the game, 20 to 30 minutes. Both these teams have struggled with their mid-game shot calling and how they close out leads. Is it going to be around the Baron? Are they going to try to force it? Are they going to try to use it as a lure? Are they going to completely ignore it and continue to siege towers with Varus range and the threat of the Rise?
That's actually a teleport up top from Lumao. Again, unsealed spellbook to get him back onto the map as all of this vision is cleared. Clearlove is trying to sneak towards the pit, but this is a scary place to be. Ward over the wall, spots Lumao and Loken as they're pushing up. Looks like JD. They're not content to sit and wait. This could be another one of those plays as Yagao is picking up blue buff. He's a few moments late, but that's early exhaust from Mako.
Oh, Scout's TPing.
That was the unsealed spellbook exhaust, actually. His flash is coming back up in just a moment, but Scout, even using his unsealed spellbook teleport to get back in. Lumao is just bobbing and weaving to continue to maintain pressure. Zoom in the front, landing a knockup onto 2. That's a cleanse. Chains of Corruption lands onto Clearlove, and the Ragnarok gets him back to safety, but Mako has no way to get out of this.
But the precision and intent from JD Gaming, they start the fight because they want the tower, not the kills. Here's the kills.
Realm Warp chase. Yagao with the flash. Rune Prison on towards his own Realm Warp. Blocks may go down. Boy flashes away to escape, but Zoom eats some damage. They're still nice and healthy, though. Ray is looking for a way in, but without any follow-up damage from Boy, without Scout landing some harass, he just cannot go forward.
And this is what you need to expect for the rest of this series. This is not going to be a very bloody back-and-forth best-of-5. These are two very intelligent teams. They're pressure valve teams, and they're always going to play for the objective. And when they have that global gold, when they know they're strong enough, then they will take the certain fights. Edward Gaming know it. JD Gaming know it. Expect the scoreboard to stay very similar. This isn't Invictus Gaming. This isn't RNG. Buckle up.
I'm sure you're having a great time for this. Plenty of time for the color caster to just keep on getting all that juicy analysis as Yagao looking for a bit of a sneaky kill onto Scout. He's got double flash, just uses the overcharge to force Scout back, but Yagao, what a guy. Uses the Realm Warp, then flash Rune Prison so that his team can actually take the Realm Warp forwards. That is very far from standard.
And just to echo Raz, Rookie of the season. I 100% agree. I thought he was Rookie of Spring Split. I definitely think he should be Rookie of the entire season. Yagao, there were so many questions. Doinby used to be the focal mid laner, now, of course, on Rogue Warriors, making his big international entrance on the Rift Rival stage. How were they ever going to replace him? With JD Gaming lost Doinby, everyone thought that was going to be the death of the organization. But they find Zoom, they find Yagao, and they inject life back into in a roster that could possibly go the distance. I mean, it starts here. We're only in game 1. They've still got Invictus Gaming to go through, but at very least, they have a shot at that regional qualifiers. They have a shot at Worlds.
And if they take this series against EDG, especially after a dominant game 1 like this, they're showing, hey, maybe they can actually compete with the big 4 by bringing down the old guard, by bringing down the monarchy of the LPL.
They're definitely at the big kids table. They kicked TOP off, and they now get to sit and say, yes, you're going to have to go through us at some point.
It's always a question of, is it the big 4, or should we start calling it the big 5 if JD are able to take this game? But that's going to be a sleep landing onto Sion. Still very tanky, but Scout trying to recall there as it's just wave after wave being cleared out. Clid sitting there and maintaining vision, and again, they're able to clear it out. Realm Warp towards the Baron. Lumao doesn't get into it, but Clid is trying to slow this off. He's feigning this delay as Clid has a way to get over the wall, but EDG are chasing forward.
And really important is that EDG still have another blue trinket to use here. They should disengage from this.
That's the charge. They managed to find Mako. Remember, he has no flash. He gets pulled in and dies. Suddenly, all that protection makes this a lot scarier for EDG.
And excellent posturing from JD Gaming to make sure that they could get the pick. Now, Clearlove still has access to flash, still has access to flashing over the back of the pit, and Clid is trying to zone.
Yeah, he's got to be careful with that Urgot, though. Fear Beyond Death is absolutely terrifying for the execution, but they've done the play once. They might be looking for it again. That's the Abyssal Voyage to chase it up. Slow lands onto Ray. Scout's already at low health. He flashed out of this, but Sleepy Trouble Bubble prevents any chase. Lumao getting very low, but retreats away from this as JD are just juggling the aggro, dancing around EDG.
You're starting to see a little bit of those nerves, I feel like. That wasn't as clean as it could have been from JD Gaming. You saw that they wanted to turn off the Baron, use the mobility of the Tahm Kench to try to get themselves in a position, but cost themselves a lot. And Edward Gaming, huge win for them. They managed to have the red zone defense, they held the Baron, and they now get more and more time for Boy. Now sitting on 2 items, trying to find that final 3rd item.
So very close, but needs to complete an attack speed item to get at least a little bit of crit before he can start looking for that Infinity Edge. If that's the route he decides to take, of course, he can pivot towards AP, but that takes even longer with the Rabadon's death cap costs. But Loken already looking for the wit's end. He wants damage here, he wants damage now, he wants to be able to survive the Zoe and the Kai'Sa in these fights. But with JD, they have just taken every turret. 5 turrets to 0, 3 dragons to 0. And now they're turning their eyes back on that Purple Worm prize.
And again, it's moments like those that will probably be the make or break of this type of series. We know that Edward Gaming have been fumbling their shot calling. That's why they brought Clearlove back into the roster, to specifically address that. And we know that JD Gaming are very inexperienced, very young. They don't have the same veteranship to lead them through very intense moments like a quarterfinals and a best-of-5 across from Edward Gaming. So shake it off.
Yeah.
Maybe some nerves. It's game 1.
Game 1.
But you need to make it prove now.
I mean, you just saw Scout land an excellent hit onto Lumao on this Tahm Kench as JD are just trying to play around this vision, maneuvering around, trying to bait EDG forwards. But that was an Ocean Dragon JD just picked up. Lumao will be able to heal up as Clearlove pops the Predator. trying to hunt someone down, but Clid still standing in this brush so far forward on such a squishy Graves, but he knows he's got his team behind him, and EDG are able to maneuver around to get some vision a little bit closer to the pit.
I feel like JD Gaming really haven't set themselves up fully for this. They need to move their vision just a little bit deeper into Edward Gaming's jungle. They're also ignoring their side lane simultaneously. So they're getting their top wave going, but their mid wave is getting cleared out. They need to get them going both at the same time, but they decide they don't have the patience for that, and they're going in.
Look at that Zoom getting shuttled into the back. What's his target going to be, and will he be able to survive? In fact, flashing out of this, that's a knockup. Yagao is split from his team, but saved by Lumao. As EDG, they found a good front onto this. Can they chase it down? Righteous Glory from Ray. He's running in. Who's going to be his target? Zoom keeps himself in front and prevents EDG from racing forward.
The hesitation, the nerves from JD Gaming, they should have the advantage in these fights. They've got the superior gold lead, they have superior items, but they're unable to make them connect. They don't have the right vision set up, and they're constantly disengaged about, are we taking the Realm Warp, are we not taking the Realm Warp, where's the follow-up? Whereas Edward Gaming, so much cleaner, and you can see some of that veteran experience coming through of how dangerous they are. The fact that Ray is coming around the corner, that he's threatening the flank, that iBoy is using the Kai'Sa ultimate so aggressively.
And here it looks like this is the overall vision of the map for JD Gaming. You can see they've got some control over the Baron, but it's largely dark after their control earlier, whereas EDG, they've completely sacrificed vision on the bottom side. Yagao is actually pushing bottom right now.
And it's understanding exactly where they need to be and what objective they need to hold. And again, that ticking time bomb, guess what? It extended a little bit further because you were right, Dom. It's going to be looking towards that AP sidestep for Kai'Sa.
iBoy, he's going to have to do some massive damage in these fights, looking for huge plasma stacks, especially if he wants to get through the Banshee's Wit's End and Adaptive Helm of JD Gaming. But it looks like they've turned their attention away from the Baron and finally broken off the bottom tier 2. It's no longer the 5-man pick plays from JD, but now they've opened up the opportunity to go for a 1-4 split against EDG.
And maybe some uncertainty about pulling the trigger over Baron, how to execute those team fights from the blue side area of this map. I like the fact that JD Gaming kind of, okay, we're trying to solve the Rubik's Cube of Edward Gaming. We just need to break it. Just go back to the side lanes.
Yeah.
Do what you know works for you.
They got the green T now on that right side, the bottom green layer, all solved. Now they just need to take the next few steps. As 8,000 gold ahead of Edward Gaming, they're moving back in to clear out this vision. Yagao's not there quite yet, but look at that. Loken gets hit by a Sleepy Trouble bubble. Scout does not follow it into 4 people. A wise decision. And they're just patrolling around this, but looks like they found Ray. That's the Abyssal Voyage to chase onto him. Lumao gets the slow, but that's a stopwatch. Even Yagao getting in there, but look how much time Ray is buying. Mako goes in with a big knockup. Loken is firing into the back. Scout looks for him, but Lumao body blocking on the side as it's a fight on 2 fronts for JD. Ray is still alive, but the bounce onto Clearlove ends up killing him. iBoy activates his stopwatch early, gets knocked up and locked down with Ray burning down to the Corruption Potion. JD find 2 kills and are looking for more.
JD Gaming couldn't manage to crack Edward Gaming in the force, but they managed to do it in the lane phase. They make the crucial pick, they tank the tower, still waiting for those creeps, so they're going to be slowed down by fortification here, but a huge win for JD Gaming. They might have just cracked open this game if they can continue to pressure here.
Now they've still got all 5 members alive. That Ocean Dragon gives some sustain as Scout pops over, but a rune and a piercing arrow. Yagao finds the kill onto Scout. Now 2 men left standing.
Immediately Baron. They're going to deny the blast cone. They're going to go over the Baron. You no longer have the massive poke potential from the Zoe. You have Yagao playing defense, and Clearlove has just now spawned.
It's Mako
30
and
seconds
Ray.
to run.
That's the concussive blows onto Yagao. He's sidestepping as best he can, but look at that. Lumao's there with the save. Knockup is ready over the wall. Ray, is he going to look to go in? He's got the Fear Beyond Death, but the Baron is picked up. And JD Gaming, 10 kills to 1, are dissecting Edward Gaming.
And we got over that 30-minute hump. We got over the Baron hurdle. JD Gaming managed to figure it out. They couldn't have the right vision. They couldn't break Edward Gaming in the force between Zoe and just all of her mobility, so they take it to the lane phase. They find Ray overextended. He can't be on that side of the map. He doesn't control it, and they force the fight with all of the mobility. The Realm Warp, the Abyssal Voyage, find the crucial picks, and crack EDG open with their gold lead.
Moving so protectively around their carries in these fights. I was about to say doing everything they can to keep Loken and Yagao safe, but Loken was the really only one who needed protection because Yagao seems to be a front line for JD Gaming with these Realm Warps chasing forwards, showing no fear against the winningest team in the history of the LPL. He's got nameplates turned off.
And I personally just love how Rise has made this meteoric rise back into the LPL. We have great Rise players, but ultimately as Banshee Veil has come back into the itemization, and it's just so so much easier to go into now, which it's been like that for a while. He just becomes so tanky. There's nothing you can do against him, and his damage output is still absurd. So if you got it, play it, and they got it.
Now we got to push onto 2 inhibitor turrets. Yagao is finishing off the top inhibitor turret, and he's still got Realm Warp. No one from EDG is defending this, and they're still losing ground mid. JD, once again, they find an opening, and they are tearing this map open. The top inhibitor is down, and Yagao is pushing it all the way to the Nexus turrets to force EDG back. And even Zoom is finishing it off. Could we have a triple inhib in one Baron from JD Gaming?
Edward Gaming, they have run out of time. Kaisa needs to be online right now. You're not going to get the 4th item. Where do you draw the line in the sand? Because they are being dissected.
Now we've got the teleport back out from Yagao. Banshee's Veil stalls it, but Chains of Corruption. Piercing Arrow, Mako's in the front. He goes down, the first to fall. Could this be the game 1 for EDG? As Split is forcing them back into the base. And already the observers are popping us out, but there's still a fight onto the fountain, but they turn onto the Nexus. JD Gaming, they have studied the history books, and they're going to learn from their mistakes in the past, taking game 1 over EDG.
A new chapter possibly starting. We're still very early on in the series, but it feels like JD Gaming are just itching to turn that page, and you can see it written on Ray's face. The monument of the LPL, Edward Gaming, may come crashing down today. They looked all out of sorts in game number 1.
JD Gaming playing EDG's style against them and pulling them apart piece by piece. They still showed us that same characteristic weakness during the mid-game, but it was so much more intelligent about how they were willing to back away and retreat from fights. This is the same lesson we saw them learn against FPX just 2 days ago, and they've shown that in 2 days they can turn around that quickly and take that same style of play against Edward Gaming. I mean, we talk about meteoric rises, but this is something else.
And JDG have been the baby Edward Gaming, but no more. They are now about to overcome EDG. They played their style better than them. Every time Edward Gaming tried to find some sort of skirmish or fight, JD Gaming read them like a book. Had the pocket play, had the plan, executed it brilliantly, and put Edward Gaming into the ground.
And so many times we ask the questions, when will the dynasty fall? When will the monarchy change hands to someone new? Well, JD Gaming with a victory here, they could be showing us that that day might have finally arrived.
Edward Gaming have only ever been knocked out of playoffs twice.
Oof, it very well could happen that JD Gaming do that once again. But now to break down that Game 1 win, let's hear from our analysts.
All right. JD on the field, JD on the scoreboard, 1-0. That's what I'm talking about, Raz.
That was real fun. That was a good one. Now, it was good just because one of the first things we said was that, you know, bottom lane, iBoy and Mako should be able to take that lane 2v2 kill for Loken and Lumao. So it already feels like just based off the laning phase alone, the laners that were not impacted by the level 1, Loken doing well for himself right off the get-go.
Yeah, that was the big thing. It was just like everything that we were looking towards the bottom lane. We're also looking towards the top side, which did get impacted by that level 1 in the jungle skirmish right there. And that ripple effect right here, the kill onto Ray, also the kill onto Clid, spiraled the game.
So right off the get-go, you would say that fighting against Sion is suicidal in level 1 because he started Q and he could try for it once again. But EDG were confident that with Scout coming in first, they should be able to take it. The only issue is that, of course, Yagao is going to follow you. So if the fight goes long enough and you don't have another member from the bottom side of the map joining in, it should be, you know, the team JingDong Gaming being able to take out completely after that level 1. And that level 1 had actually a larger impact.
It did, yeah. It absolutely did.
The one member that didn't die, that actually flashed over the wall in that screen, was the one who got impacted the most. No flash, had to go back to base really early on. Rai stayed in lane, and guess who got hit by the CS margin? So Scout got super impacted, and he lost lane based off that alone.
He did. He had 8 farms to 33 coming out of that laning phase, getting to about the 5-minute mark, and that was a massive differential. Top lane, again, though, I feel like this is another lane where we see Urgot getting picked, and then you don't play towards top side if you have the Urgot. And then it's actually the opposing team who continuously just hits the top lane over and over and over again and beats down the Urgot after that level 1 as well. Yes,
and here's the thing about this, is that this is a very intelligent composition coming out of JD, because not only was he going up against a tougher lane in the Sion. Sion is a tank top laner, sure, but he's a laner as well. And the fact that his Q just outranges a lot of the spells and auto attacks that Urgot has gives him a shot to just deny all the trades that he gives you. But then also one thing that adds on to that is the jungle pressure coming in. Graves is a pick that we haven't seen in a very long time, and he's coming back into it because the Electrocute junglers are just all nerfed. Electrocute got changed, and it's better debatably for a lot of the laners, but for junglers, outright nerfed just because that means that you don't get the brute force damage for the skirmishes that you actually want to look for. Graves here being picked up. Dark Harvest has actually been something that's been spreading out for a lot of junglers, including in Italy as well. So you keep the early damage burst that you get from comparable to Electrocute, and actually makes it difficult now for Urgot. Because Urgot 8.16 is thinking, I'm dealing with a lot of tanks.
Yeah.
But not only are you dealing with the DPS that you have with the Graves that has the early game advantage, but now losing out in the laning phase, not just because of level 1, but to the laner of Sion.
Yeah, to dig deeper on that point, because Urgot comes into the meta and it's just like fantastic. No burst to be seen, no Electrocute, all the damage is being lowered, but then instantly you see the Graves come out in this draft and it's like, all right, top lane, you be tank, I'll be DPS. And you saw that in the 2 versus 1. They were able to actually chunk down the Urgot very quickly before you could even make it back to his tower. So really like the adaptation coming in here on the adaptation that was Urgot coming into the playoffs in the first place.
And just as a little salt on the wound is that Tom Kench is going to be able to save out potentially anybody that is in range of execution. So it's just real difficult for the Urgot that already had a poor laning phase to find impact later on in the game.
Yeah, and then we actually take it to the team fights themselves. And speaking of that, Tam Kench is like, you want to get past me, buddy? Not going to happen. Initially, this looks very good for Raze. Like, I'm going to buy some time, EDG, get the clouds. Massive fissure coming out of Braum as well. But look at Scout. He just can't even get access into this fight.
And that's the issue here, is that there are so many points of DPS for JD, even though Loken is not actually outputting damage because of the slow based off that fissure, correct? And that Scout's going to be able to zone him. You don't need your AD carry. You have a secondary carry in the Graves. And you have the output that Rise is putting out there. So just based off of those two alone, there's no way that a team fight is going to work out for EDG in that way.
Now, Yagal's going to take our man of the match in this one, so congratulations to him in the mid lane. We were talking about when it was going to be him or it's going to be the year of the Scout. Which one, Rookie or Scout? It's going to be...
No Scout found.
No Scout found. It's all going to be Yagal, all going to be on this Rise play. He dominated the laning phase coming out of that jungle fight at level 1 and then just continued to blast everybody across the map.
So that's a +1 to already 7 MVPs that he's had at this split. He's a very strong mid laner for just in the mid lane pool. And just like Dom said, just like Frost said, took Scout's Rise away from him, took the style away from EDG, saying that we have the semi-global composition, and then forced in EDG to play out lanes that they weren't winning out. So if this is the strategy they're going for, props to Coach Home.
Yeah, and surprisingly, what was for me, it was the bottom lane, the fact that Loken also got ahead. You saw that 40% chunk onto that Zoe and took him out at the end of the game. It's like every lane's going well right now for JD. We'll see if they can keep it. We're going to take a short break. When we get back, we'll be here for game number